Hey guys, we are going to react to the impossible disappearance of Dorothy Arnold. I think this is like a bonus episode they did at the end of the season or whatever. I kind of forgot about this case.
This week on a special episode of BuzzFeed Unsolved, we investigate the unexplained...
Wait a sec. I just want to text it. Yeah, my sound is good. Everything's good.
disappearance of New York heiress Dorothy Arnold in honor of the upcoming CW show, Nancy Drew.
The CW's new series, Nancy Drew, when's detective name.
So, in the show, Nancy Drew is tasked with finding a missing socialite, so...
I'd love to be an heiress. I know she's probably gonna disappear or something.
So you want to be a trust fund baby?
I'd like someone to give me
I have a trust fund, but I'm not exactly a trust fund baby. It's more like, we don't know how disabled this child is gonna be trust fund. It's not like when I was diagnosed with autism when I was like a year and a half or like 3, my grandpa, they didn't know how bad my autism was gonna be, like how able I was gonna be. So my grandpa, he set up a trust fund for me, so I will be in when that thing finally fucking opens.
a lot of money for doing nothing.
And then you want to disappear.
But I want to get a lot of money and then vanish from the face of the earth.
And I'd love for you to disappear. Let's get into it.
Yeah.
Tales of the missing wealthy have always captivated the public's imagination, and today we're looking into one such case that's more than 100 years old.
Yeah, this is not getting solved anytime
Dorothy
soon.
Harriet Camille Arnold was the daughter of Mary Parks Arnold and wealthy perfume importer Frances Rose Arnold. As far as anybody knew, she'd had a happy home life.
Cool to be a perfume importer. I'd love to be that.
What would your fragrance be? What would the name be?
Musky, I know that.
Okay, for a second I thought your fragrance name was going to be just a chipmunk, like chipmunk noise. Could you imagine if someone said, "Oh, that's a lovely scent. What is that?" Okay, well, I'll see you later.
On the morning of December 12, 1910, the 25-year-old left her family home in the Upper East Side of Manhattan and told her mother she was heading downtown to buy an evening dress. According to the New York Times, when Mrs. Arnold offered to accompany her daughter, Dorothy said no. Quote, "When I find the gown I want, I will telephone you, and you can come down and see it." End quote.
I'll tell you what, she sounds like
Yeah.
an heiress.
Pretty curt.
Yeah.
With your mother.
How about when I find the gown I want, maybe I'll talk to you then.
How about
Yo, hag.
when I need the funds, I'll call you. How about that?
Yeah. How often do you think this lady's buying gowns?
I mean, if she's buying an evening gown, you would assume she's buying an afternoon gown and a morning gown,
Yeah.
maybe even a sleepy time gown.
That's right.
Her
Night
family
gown.
believed that when she left at 11:30 a.m., she had as much as $30 in her purse, which in today's dollars would be more than
Wow.
$750.
Holy moly! Yeah.
Fucking
30
fucking
bucks going
inflation.
that far in 1910.
I don't even have $750 in my bank account.
I've never had
I don't know how much I have
$750
in
in
my
my
bank account
pocket.
right
I
now.
rarely have had $30 in my pocket.
Well, I don't really carry cash anymore.
Who does?
Dorothy made her way down Fifth
I do.
Avenue, stopping at a grocery
I carry some cash right now, but that's because I forgot to deposit it into the bank.
store on 59th
I'm gonna
Street
deposit
to
it,
buy
like,
some chocolates,
probably next
then at
week
Brent
after I
Thomas,
see if
a
some
bookstore
stuff's
on
sold.
27th Street, where she bought a copy of Engaged Girl Sketches, a lightly humorous collection of short romantic stories.
Well, this sounds like quite a lovely evening for the lady.
A nice little jaunt through the Big Apple.
Yeah. I love a humorous romantic story.
Well, this story does not get humorous, nor does it get romantic.
Oh boy.
Around that time, reportedly 2 p.m., she ran into a friend from college, Gladys King. The two talked about a party they'd both been invited to, the same party for which Dorothy was supposedly dress shopping. Gladys left to meet her mother for lunch, and Dorothy was never seen again.
Whoa, there it comes.
So the last person to see her was Gladys. They were talking about the big party they'd been invited
Oh,
to.
it's gonna be a corker.
Kind of like Gossip Girly. I guess.
Yeah.
It is a little gossip
Well,
girly.
like in the 1910s.
Yeah, yeah.
I've never
They
seen
should do
Gossip
a-
Girl. I
A
don't really give a
reboot?
fuck
Oh,
about
in
Gossip
that,
Girl.
in that era?
Yeah.
Let's talk about more shows people should watch that aren't the one where it's
So
advertised.
what we're establishing here is that we got our finger on the pulse of hot, searing teen dramas.
I don't like how you said that.
And it's gonna be pretty good.
Teen should never be prefaced by hot and searing. You're just gonna have you going hot, searing, teens, and then just cut right there.
Well, that sounds good. I'd like to watch
Oh,
that.
now they
That's
have
what-
footage of me saying that.
Yeah, now they got you too.
So they're gonna have both
Oh, man.
talking about hot searing teens.
I guess at this point we might as well say it in unison.
Hot
Searing teens.
When Dorothy wasn't home for dinner that night, her family started to worry. The next morning, they began.
Okay, I can't be the only one that thinks.
When Dorothy was
I can't be the only one that thinks that pasta looks weird. What is that? What kind of. Is that like. Parmesan cheese? Parmesan cheese is fucking gross.
home for dinner that night, her family started to worry. The next morning, they began calling Dorothy's friends. By that evening, with no one knowing Dorothy's whereabouts, the family began contacting private investigators. The investigators searched hospitals, morgues, and even prisons looking for Dorothy. They'd visited her friends in Boston, Washington, D.C., and other cities, but turned up nothing. Detectives in Europe even watched as people disembarked from ships arriving from the US to try to spot Dorothy. Nothing. Shortly before Christmas, with the private dicks having made little progress, the family went to the police. When they too
Okay, the fact that old-timey slang for detectives was dicks. We're all immature.
came up empty-handed, the family finally made Dorothy's disappearance public on January 25th, a full 6 weeks after their daughter was last seen, hoping more clues would surface. Despite a $1,000 reward by Dorothy's family, more than $26,000
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
today, no leads managed to turn up Dorothy Arnold.
That's a long time. I know they had the private eyes working on it, but 6 weeks feels like a casual pace.
What are you
Yeah.
gonna do? I mean, she was 25 years old. You would
She
think
could have run away, maybe.
when a 25-year-old goes missing, you're not thinking she must have run away. You're thinking, yeah, she's probably doing stuff because she's 25 years old.
What do you mean by stuff?
I mean, when we started this show, I was 25.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I went missing for like a week, do you think you'd be alarmed, or would you
I
rejoice?
think so.
That's nice. I didn't think
Yeah.
you'd be alarmed. I think you.
You're my friend.
I don't like how you
Aw.
said that. You said it with. Like,
You're my friend.
Why are you yelling? You're my friend.
You're my friend.
Oh God.
I would be concerned if you disappeared, and we'd get a pretty baller season out of it. Because it'd just be me being like, I don't know, what do you got? Anybody seen him?
With almost no clues, it's time to make like Nancy drew and Nancy draw up some theories about what may have happened to the popular social.
What the fuck is in the
Because it
background?
captured America's attention for so long, this case has countless theories associated with it. We couldn't possibly go into all of them, so today, we're just presenting what I feel are the most likely. Our first theory is that Dorothy Arnold ran away. After searching her bedroom, investigators found information Dorothy had collected about various ocean liners she could take to Europe. It wasn't clear when Dorothy researched the ships, but the cruise companies were nevertheless contacted. They all told investigators no Dorothy Arnold had been aboard their ships.
In my 20s, it would have been very suspect if I disappeared because I was, for a brief while, very interested in McMurdo, the Antarctic research base.
That's where you wanted to go in your mid-20s. You
That
wanted
was
to go
fucking
to.
cold.
It's really cool looking. There's a lot of
Yeah.
ice.
You wanted to go to
Cool
a frozen
and
tundra
cold.
for vacation.
Not just vacation, but I wanted to learn things and just live
Like
there.
watch
Maybe I still
penguins.
can.
You're a weird guy, man.
You wouldn't do that?
You're a weird dude. No, I wouldn't do that. When I think,
Oh, what? You're just like Cabo, baby.
no, I'm not thinking Cabo, baby. I'm thinking,
Ooh. I don't know what that is.
On February 6th, 1911, Mr. Arnold received a postcard that had been sent from New York City that stated, quote, "I am safe," end quote, and appeared to be signed by Dorothy. Mr. Arnold, however, insisted it was a fake and that whoever wrote it merely copied Dorothy's handwriting samples that were published in the papers.
I'd love for this theory to be true.
I would, yeah, agreed.
Dorothy, if you're watching this, you're probably 127 years old.
Old lady.
But, you know, good on you. You lived a good life.
The good boys finally got to me.
Jesus Christ.
Dorothy, if you're watching this, comment. Top. We'll vote. We'll get to the top comment.
Wouldn't that be this show's greatest accomplishment? That we pissed off a Vanished so much that they unvanished themselves after they, you know, they got so angry
Yes.
that they came out.
Like if
and
D.B. Cooper was like, you assholes, listen.
I saw what you said about me getting speared by a pine tree.
D.B. Cooper breaks silence.
D.B. Cooper breaks silence to dunk on Ghoul Boys.
While riding the New York subway in 1917, John Galvin, a man claiming to be a detective at Scotland Yard, grabbed a woman and reportedly declared,
jeez.
quote, "I know you, Dorothy Arnold. I've got you at last," end quote. The woman, not Dorothy Arnold, but rather a Mrs. Smith, begged strangers
Oh,
around her to
man.
help, but Galvin insisted he was a detective.
No, that's a fucking
He marched
kidnapper.
her into an NYPD precinct where officers let Mrs. Smith go and sent Galvin to Bellevue Hospital for observation.
Yeah.
I know you, Dorothy Arnold. Come with
Fucking hell.
I've got you at last. Another case cracked for Galvin.
Imagine being on the subway, maybe you have your AirPods in and some grown man grabs you by the shoulders, looks you in your eyes and shakes you and goes, I've got you!
Probably happens a lot.
Ah, man.
I'm guessing.
Probably true, you know, the subway and such, but
It's a
Yeah.
wild place.
not only did he grab her, it's not like this was a moment of terror, just a moment.
He marched
He
her.
marched her to the police station,
Ah,
made her get
yeah, he
off the
fucking
subway,
kidnapped her.
walked with her, I'm assuming, while holding her shoulder still. That's insane.
Imagine the people at the precinct too. This man shows up and he's like, "It's the missing lady. We've got her at last." They're like, "Ma'am, do you have any ID?" She takes it out and they're like, "Why don't we get this guy somewhere quickly?" Get his back.
I've cracked it! Here she is! Dorothy! Give me the money! Now!
Over the following decades, many others would come forward claiming to have seen Dorothy, or even to be Dorothy. None of the claims ever led anywhere. Casting doubt on the theory that Dorothy ran away is the fact that she left behind practically all of her valuables,
Yeah.
expensive jewelry that could have been
would've
sold to
brought that
help her
shit with
journey,
her.
as well as personally valuable correspondence with friends.
So let's say I look like Kim Kardashian, and
Because you do, yeah.
and she goes missing, and she's not turning up, and I just really pour through the archives, get a good idea of what she's like.
Yeah, you watch 10 seasons of Keeping Up with the Kardashians.
I'll take copious notes.
Yeah.
I watch it on loop for 10 years. I show up a little aged,
yeah.
but still, you know, I've
essence
still
is there.
got it.
The
You know, I've
essence
still
is
got what she's got
Yeah.
because I sort of look like her. And I just show up, and it's like, "Oh, it's me, Kim. It's been a long time. I fell down a hole. I have a beard now. I'm stuck in a cave." And you just make up a story. How? Like, what are they gonna know? How could they possibly tell?
DNA.
Well, they're gonna be like, "Where's that mole on your butt cheek?"
I mean, they
They
probably
don't know that.
No, I mean, I guess you're right.
So guess what? Suddenly, I'm rolling in it, baby.
Yeah.
There's gonna be 10 more seasons of keeping up with the Kardashians.
Under the ran away theory, we should talk about a sub-theory of sorts, that Dorothy eloped. When police were brought on the case, their first theory was that Dorothy had eloped. By the time the New York Times broke the story, however, that theory, quote, had been completely abandoned, end quote, after investigators interviewed everyone they were sure knew Dorothy in any way, every one of Dorothy's family members, and every friend they could get the name of. No one was aware of any secret marriage. But before investigators gave up on the elopement theory, one potential suitor merited extra attention.
Well, if no one knew about the secret marriage, then it means the secret marriage probably went off without a hitch.
George Griscom Jr. George Griscom Jr. was a Pennsylvanian man in his 40s at the time of Dorothy's disappearance. The two had known one another for approximately 4 years. Though Dorothy's family never approved of George, Mrs. Arnold even went on record to say she would never let George marry her daughter. After she went missing, it came out that Dorothy had met up with George in Boston a couple months before she disappeared. She had told her family she was visiting a college friend, but there was evidence that Dorothy checked out of her hotel at the same time that George had checked out of a different Boston hotel. Reports say that Dorothy may have also pawned some of her jewelry to fund their rendezvous. While the Arnolds denied this, a Boston pawn shop was given the name Dorothy Arnold by someone while she was in Boston. At the time Dorothy went missing, however, George had been vacationing with his family out of the country for about a month. Even after replying to a telegram from the Arnolds that he didn't know where she was, the family remained suspicious. On January 16th, before the public even knew about Dorothy's disappearance, Dorothy's older brother, John, confronted George in Florence, Italy. During this interaction, reports suggested John even hit George and knocked him to the ground. In February, George ended his trip early and sailed back to America. He then hired his own private investigators to look for Dorothy. In the month that George paid for them, his investigators didn't find Dorothy either.
So if I'm George,
You are George, yes.
I'm not George, but if I'm George,
Okay, you're a creep, George.
I'm a creep. I'm a creep.
Yeah.
I want to marry this heiress. I pay for her to go stay somewhere for a little bit, but if we want to elope, when's the perfect time to do it? To make myself not look suspicious when I'm on vacation for a month with my family. So she goes, holes up somewhere for a little bit.
Yeah.
Family comes knocking at my door. She's missing. Where's she been? I don't know. I'm on vacation.
Yeah.
Then I hire a private eye.
You forgot the part where they gave him a knuckle sandwich.
Whatever. They hit me. Big deal. I'm getting married. I'm stoked. Hire a private eye. He runs around town looking for her. I don't tip him off. Maybe I tell him, like, hey, by the way, this is all bullshit. I don't know. Here's extra money. Don't tell him.
Well, I don't know how much honor Gumshoes had at that time, but
Probably
Yeah.
none.
okay.
Then I meet up with her later in like Sioux Falls or something, and we get married.
It's possible. It's a
Yeah.
fun,
Yeah.
To
it's a
like
fun
change
theory.
your identity.
Like convoluted
It
as fuck.
seems like a lot of steps as opposed to just saying to the parents, yeah, we're going to get married.
Yeah.
Well, I guess so. You're right about that. Yes. Yep.
Our second theory is that Dorothy was kidnapped and murdered. This is the theory that Dorothy's
Yeah,
father
more leaning
eventually
towards,
came
like,
to
that she's
accept as
definitely
what
dead
happened to
theory.
his daughter. In the absence of clues, the family came to believe this was the only logical explanation. By April, the family
I mean, what if she wasn't even murdered? Like, the kidnapping like went wrong and they accidentally bumped her head against something, but that may have like caused her to have a brain bleed or whatever because like a aneurysm or
They
some
were
shit.
so convinced their daughter was dead that they started requesting the police give up the case. In fact, both her parents evidently wrote Dorothy out of their wills because they were so certain she would not resurface.
Look, I am not going to pass judgment on a family that is going through grieving. But let me pass some judgment. It's weird that you would ever want the case to be stopped being investigated. I guess
Yeah.
that kind of prolongs the grieving period, but at the same
Yeah.
time, if there's a chance, you would think you'd want to keep going. And then I don't know how quickly
What if it
people
was
write
hurting them?
dead children out of wills.
Yeah, I don't know either. What is that, like 6 months later?
About 4.5 months.
That's pretty quick. I've got stuff in my fridge that's been there
I mean,
longer than that.
that's a full
Yeah,
One
I.
full season.
That reminds me, I have some green beans. I've got to toss from the fridge, but I'm scared to because I know they'll smell bad.
A season. That's pretty quick. It's weird that he would jump to that, because if people were like, I'm so sorry, I bet she's out there somewhere, and he was probably just like, I bet they stabbed her. I bet they killed her.
I bet she's dead. I better write her out of my will. It's a weird thought, but once again, I don't know what it's like to go through that grieving process. So possibly this is what their process was, and
Yeah.
then, you know, it's weird to us because we're outsiders and we're idiots, and, you know, we're looking at this 100 years later, but I think we could say that's a bit odd and move on.
Seems odd. Let's move on.
Perhaps the strongest lead in the murder theory comes from one Edward Glenoris. In 1916, Glenoris was serving time in the Rhode Island State Prison for attempted extortion of a clergyman. He claimed he found God and wanted to come clean to the warden about his supposed involvement in burying the body of a woman he had come to believe was Dorothy Arnold. Glenoris said that in what he remembered being December of 1910, a man at a bar named Benoit asked for help from him and another man that some reports named Little Louis.
Yeah, these guys sound suspicious.
Little in front of any name.
Yeah.
It sounds suspicious or like the star of many, many silent films.
Yeah, I mean, the only little I...
What about a rapper? Like, you know, like Lil Jon and stuff like that.
trust is Stewart, and that's it. But his is a last
Little
name.
Stewart?
No, Stewart Little.
Oh, the mouse.
Yeah, the
The
mouse.
mouse boy.
He
That
was a
was-
man. He was a mouse man. He drove a car.
Little Louis does, he sounds like a funny little, like, what's Little Louis up to this week? Oh, murdering a woman?
Benoit, Glenoris, and Little Louis were tasked with moving an unconscious woman from a house in New Rochelle to a home up the Hudson near West Point. The next day, Glenoris was informed that the woman had died, and he was asked to return to the West Point home to help bury her. Glenoris allegedly buried the woman under a concrete floor in the basement and was paid $250 for his involvement by a wealthy-looking man. There has been some speculation that man who paid Glenoris could have been George Griscom, though there's no hard evidence to support this.
Bad dudes. If your friend comes up to you and says, I need a favor, help me move a lady, and you're like, yeah, sure.
Into her apartment? No.
Oh, no. She is unconscious. Gotta
Anyway.
move her. Are we taking her to the doctor? No.
Oh,
to a
yeah.
quiet home somewhere upstate.
Where she could rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next day, by the way, oops.
After Glenoris
I'm kind of curious how much $250 back then would be today. 250 would be over $8,000.
Confessed to helping bury the woman thought to be Dorothy. A team of detectives searched a home matching Glenorris's vague description on April 21st, 1916. When they got to the basement, the team was surprised to find an area of the concrete floor that appeared to have been broken up in the past. The area, however, was small, about 5 feet by 6 inches, and the caretaker claimed the floor had been broken to fix a gas pipe. When authorities returned a couple days later with the owner's permission to dig up the spot, they indeed found a gas pipe.
Darn it.
Within the year, authorities were satisfied that Glenorris's claims were false. The third and final theory we're discussing today is that Dorothy accidentally died during an abortion. In
That
April
wouldn't be good.
1914, the Pittsburgh home of one Dr. C.C. Meredith was
I
raided.
mean, this is why I think abortion should be legalized so that people don't die. Or at least reduce the chances of people dying.
By police. Meredith, his nurse, and another doctor, one H.E. Lutz, were all arrested. The home was used as a private office where women would come seeking abortions. Lutz made a statement to the DA that at one time, Meredith had told him Dorothy Arnold had been one of his patients. From the way Meredith spoke of her, Lutz inferred that she had died and her body had been cremated in Meredith's office. While Lutz didn't admit to seeing Dorothy himself, he did testify that he'd witnessed another young woman who died in Meredith's care be cremated in the basement. In their raid, detectives did find 2 oversized furnaces in Meredith's basement. There's speculation that Griscom could have been who had impregnated Dorothy, but evidence of this or of Dorothy ever being in Pittsburgh for an abortion is scant at best.
Just 2 quick things about that. One, even back then, women didn't have control over their bodies so much that they would have to go to a basement to get an abortion from a creepy doctor who would throw them into a funny little furnace. Not that that's relevant to today at all. But number 2,
That did not really age well. Ugh.
I don't really know if this applies to her. I don't know if she got the abortion, went there, or even got impregnated by Griscom, or if the Griscom thing is even true. So
this may be more just a wild public imagination.
there is circumstantial evidence that maybe this happened because Lutz, one of the 3 people that was arrested in the raid, did say that the other doctor had told him that, Dorothy was one of his patients. Whether or not that's true, who knows?
Well, she could have been there before disappearing as well, though.
Or maybe he's trying to shave some time off of his sentence.
Just lying?
Yeah, just lying. He's lying. Yeah, he's lying to get time off, possibly. Or it happened.
Yeah.
I guess we won't know. I mean,
Sorry.
that's why we're here.
Yeah.
I know it's the end of the episode and you were hoping, like, the boys are going to crack it. We never did.
That's the guarantee.
Stories of missing socialites have always captured the public's interest. Something about a seemingly perfect life gone astray continues to fascinate our darkest imaginations. For Dorothy Arnold, a lack of clues that confounded investigators has also given rise to a slew of theories to debate over for more than 100 years. Despite decades of attention and global searches, as for what actually happened to the 25-year-old New York heiress on that December day remains unsolved.
What theory do you got here, if any?
Now me, I'm a bit of a romantic. So I'd like to believe that she eloped.
I think she ran away.
Just ran away, no eloping, just scrammed.
I think she might have ran away.
And in 1910, how hard is it to run away?
Probably not that hard.
Yeah, what?
Yeah,
You burn your
internet's
ID?
not a
That's
thing
it.
yet.
You're a new person now.
Anyways, check out Nancy Drew on the CW.
I think that maybe she was involved in a hit, like in a car accident, like maybe a driver wasn't paying attention and they ran her over, thought either killed her or thought they killed her, so they ended up grabbing the body and burying it somewhere or throwing it in the water or something like that. Either way, she's dead.